Comment? Somebody has a comment?
No, Jerry. We don't know
And
what.
you can't mute it?
I tried. Hold on. I tried to mute him. Okay, there we go.
Okay.
So we're waiting on Trina, and she's from Colorado. She is a grower, African American farmer, and they're growing CBD, and they have a retail store in New York. So I just need to put a disclaimer. CBT is not approved by FDA. So if you're watching this video, we are just doing this for educational purposes only. And please consult your physician. We're not recommending any products or anything. This is a growing industry. It's doing great, has great results, but we're not endorsing it. So Reginald is going to introduce us to a coffee and talk a little bit about it. And then hopefully by then, Trina should get on.
Before we go there, let me share this with you. Imagine if you were, and I can imagine it. Imagine this is 2022. Now we've got, well, how many people on the call? 8 people on the call. And we won't take much longer, but I need you to really seriously imagine. And I profess that if I were talking to 8 people who were multimillionaires, 8 people who are multi-millionaires. That means you've got access of fluid funds of $10 million or more. $10 million or more. Now, I'm not dreaming. I'm not just postulating. And I'm only, putting into context what that represents. And, and please don't conclude or confuse the matter of it's all about money. It's not about money. But it is about us having the power that we're worth, the power and the capacity to do, be, and go. What would that mean? What it represents in terms of your control. That means that, of course, you have the capacity to take care of your families and provide for every need they have. It means that you can do the things in your community that you would like to do, and there's nothing, absolutely nothing that could take away from your capacity to do that. But imagine what needs to happen in order for you to achieve that great resolve. And there's nothing separating you from any of the people who've been able to do it. Nothing. And your legacy is essential. So what we have to do is bind together our collective understanding and wisdom so that we can step forward to do the great things. And so that means then that you don't want to collect those kind of resources and then let them go to waste. I remember meeting this fellow. I'll never ever forget him. He was an African American. This was almost 30 years ago. 30 years ago, he lived in South Carolina. It was so phenomenal. He must have been at that time about 80 years old. Samuel was his name. Now Samuel was just an emancipated man. Of course, he owned a barbershop, owned a bakery, he owned the dry cleaners, owned real estate, and he was trying to collectively consider, investing in a bank. Now, old fellow didn't have a great education, but he just knew that he wanted to help his community. He wanted to help the community achieve great things. And so he had the courage to try. He had the courage, and quite frankly, his niece I knew, and he phenomenal. Almost 80 years old and still doing the things that he's able to do because he had the tenacity, the courage, and the ambition to try. So, and there are going to be opportunities that will be presented to each of you. And, you'll have to do your own analysis to determine what I need to do, how I need to pursue them, and what is valuable and what's not. And so I commend you all, though, for where you are. And you've worked hard to get where you are. And you've achieved great things in that process. And don't let anybody, take anything away from what you've achieved. I don't care what it is. If you've got a college degree, big deal, big deal. If you retired from any organization, big deal, big deal. If you, maintain mortgage, bills, and house with good credit, whoo, whoo, big deal, big deal. So, we've come from a long way. When you think about your relatives, your family, your uncles and aunts, and the heritage that they have tried and attempted, look at where you are. Assimilate what that means and review what's next. Look at what's next. So as we await our contributors for the next segment, but I don't know, we can't give them too long because we've had this group on for a time. But you guys, I mean, you're amazing. Hey, and one thing, I left something out. If you'll pray right, focus, and continue to work, nothing but green lights all the way.
All right.
Nothing but green lights all the way. Green lights all the way. So my father used to